just drops the bat on it away into the leg side. There's no run. 44 for 2.
Are there any circumstances in which you would lend him a tenner, Fred?
Well, I was about that.
Well, he does have the presumption of honesty, to be fair. So, yeah.
No, his honesty is beyond question. But your ability to lend him money, or
if you're just stuck outside the ground, with no money for cab, I'd probably advance in the
I think I'd worry more if I borrowed money from Fred about how he might
reclaim the debt if you defaulted in any capacity.
Just pay up, mate, and then you won't have to worry about it.
Well, that's true.
No, his honesty is beyond question. Your ability to lend him money.
Plays that nicely again.
If you're just stuck outside the ground,
fields of his own
with no money for
have you ever had to get
completed the over? I'm sorry, David.
I was going to ask Fred, would then, have you ever had to get with someone who hasn't paid it back?
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
I've seen, David, which is to be fair, most of it so far. Barber still to get off the mark, and he's short. It was short, and Barber kind of leant backwards to let the ball through, but it was definitely on its way down by the time it thumped into the gloves of Joss Butler. So I'm not sure there's a huge amount of lift and carry on this wicket, David. I've seen it, which is to be fair, most
lift and carry
so far.
We saw from the previous two test matches
to get off the mark, and he's short.
That was my perception from the first
Barber kind of leant backwards to let the ball through, but it was definitely on its way down by the time it thumped into the gloves.
Very much so.
Joss, we're getting some information. I'm not sure. The mark here, and he won't get off the mark this time either, but he will play solidly enough, correctly and defensively, to drop the ball down to his feet.
Yeah, I think those stats may surprise a few people, because Babar Azam, you think of him first and foremost as a white ball player, don't you, generally, and his test record, as you say, has been really good in the last couple of years.
I think the average is instructive in that stat, but the totals, I mean, countries play very different amounts of test matches.
As in comes Archer, and again he's looking solid and correct. Big high elbow back to the bowler, end of the over. And any social messages, Fred?
Yeah, I just finished that point. You know, the number of 50s and 100s. I mean, it tells us something, but it doesn't tell us all that much because, as I say, you know, England play a lot more Test matches than a lot of other countries. Jay Grover says Tony's references to Sun Tzu are giving me the fear. It's the quiet ones you have to watch. Well, Tony, are you a quiet one? Is that
the quiet one? That was a film.
Well, sometimes you go quiet for a few
it was a
seconds,
film
not
with
entirely
John
sure.
Wayne. Am I right? Or was that That was The Quiet Man, wasn't it? The Quiet Man. I know it was set in Ireland. It's a very un-Western film from my...
Is it the biography of Gary Naylor?
I don't know. As this is left alone by Sean Masood through to Butler from the bowling of the now successful Chris Wokes. And
The
there's
Quiet
no run.
Man, the Ed Benson story.
I hope, Ed, if you're listening, say hello. And we will hear you wherever you are.
Yeah. You don't need to type it in, just open the window.
Imagine him in court, Ed Benson.
Oh.
I reckon they must give the jury and the sort of the counsels and the judge sort of ear pads just to tone him down a bit. In comes Wokes again, left alone outside of off stump. It wasn't the best ball, actually. It was wide and eminently leverable, which it duly was.
We should point out, before we get sued, that Ed Benson is actually a barrister. He's not on trial for anything, which is why he would appear in court.
Oh, yeah, I suppose we shouldn't just assume everyone kind of knows that.
Yeah.
It'd frighten the life out of me if he was prosecuting, if I was, there in the dock. I think I'd be pretty
I think
concerned.
it'd scare me more if he was defending me, put it that way.
Wokes turns at top of his mark. He's going to be in to the left-hander. It's taken an edge and it's beaten third slip, and it's going to go all the way down to long leg. Even the slim, svelte Dom Sibley could not lay a hand on that, although I think it must have been pretty close, and it's 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Got to that.
That's a really interesting question, David.
No.
Because he got there, but it kind
I
of
don't
went
think
through
the
his
bulk
hand.
was at the end of his fingers.
But you're a specialist slip, not Fred. I've seen the
Yes.
action pictures.
We
Not
have.
find the extra presence that you get from a more generous
No.
appearance. No, it doesn't help.
The man with the fuller figure at slip. As in comes Wokes.
I mean,
Away. What's the clothing range? A Giacomo. The Giacomo of
yeah,
slip
well, I
fielders.
think Raheem Cornwall's picked up a Giacomo contract, isn't it? But he's a very good slip fielder, and the
He
bolt
is.
doesn't stop him from poaching a
He
lot
took
of
one
really good
wonderful
catches.
catch, but he put one down, didn't he?
Well, no, but if you look at his actual record, Tony, he's a very, very
Yeah.
good slip fielder, one of the best.
100%.
And I'm just wondering if Sibley had not lost those 2 stone, whether he might have just, gathered that into his midriff and.
If you're suggesting
he'd have
that
had to
his
move fast
midriff
to get
was-
his midriff anywhere near
Yeah,
that.
was 2 yards away from the rest of him.
Anyway, there are
The Cornwall's it.
four slips and a gully in place to the left-hander, and that's a big shout again.
It's a small shout, Tony.
That was a medium, moderate, slightly sotto
pitched
voce
outside.
shout on that occasion. Why did we think that was turned down so...
Pitched outside.
Pitched outside leg. Yeah.
Well, there you go. There's the reason. Thank you
And it
both
was
very
too
much.
high.
And apart from that, it was a good call. I probably would have given it there.
He's asking questions of the batsman, if not of the umpire on that occasion.
Yes, indeed. 26 is Sean. He's facing Wokes, who's right arm over and in. And again, he's nicely behind that, although it was going to be wide of his off stump. I don't think that was hitting anything. It's the end of the Wokes over. It's 48-4-2. Fred.
In the light of the last series, or rather forthcoming series between England and the West Indies being called the Ian Botham Viv Richards Trophy, I was suggesting that England and Pakistan internationals should be the David Constant Shakurana Trophy. The people who have given us great entertainment over the years between the two countries.
Might be a good name for the Fair Play Award at the end of the series.
It might.
Hold on, who was the umpire? No, we've missed out Darryl Hare. Surely it should be Darryl Hare Shakarana.
He's Australian,
He wasn't
though, isn't he,
English,
Darryl
was he?
Hare?
So-
Yeah,
Oh
that
no,
would
but he
be-
still
that
had
would
the
be
same
issue.
controversy surrounded his umpiring of that Test match.
Jofra Archer is back into the attack.
Darryl
And,
Hare banned Pakistan from playing.
Barber, he did.
He awarded the game to the opposition in a way that Shaka Rana was alleged to be biased towards Pakistan.
All correct. There was no run there, by the way. 48 for 2. Yeah. Just towards the end of the first 40 minutes of play, it all seemed to be going well for Pakistan, but then Archer struck. Forward comes Barber Azam, away into the offside, no run. Then Wokes got that one to take Azhar Ali's pad. He reviewed fruitlessly because it looked pretty plumb to all of us and proved to be so. And suddenly Pakistan are 2 wickets down. If they stayed 2 wickets down at lunch, which is in... Well, will there be an extra time,
no.
chaps? They weren't off long enough, I guess.
No, but you wouldn't.
Archer's going to be in. Down leg, little flick at it by Barber, who's probably just feeling a bit twitchy. 11 balls yet to get off the mark. England will want to keep it that way for as long as possible. Try and ratchet up some pressure on him. 48 for 2. We're in the 22nd, halfway through the 22nd over.
Pakistan did start off, Tony. Yeah, you're right. They did start off well, as if they'd learnt from the West Indies series by batting first, by leaving the ball. They'd obviously spent a lot of time watching TV at the Derbyshire Holiday Inn. Not much else to do, maybe.
There's 3 slips as Archer comes forward. Yeah, I've never stayed. I always stay in. I do stay in the Holiday Inn.
Can you imagine the Pakistan check into the Derbyshire Holiday Inn and they haven't got Sky Sports?
Well, hang on a moment. The Holiday Inn in Derbyshire is a very nice hotel, but it's not the Holiday Inn that's on the ground.
Premier.
It's the Travelodge. It's the Travelodge or a Premier that's on the ground. Which, no disrespect to them at all. It's a fine chain of hotels. It isn't quite the Hilton at Southampton or the slightly lower Hilton Garden, but nonetheless very pleasant as in comes Archer. Left alone outside of off stump, the Hilton Garden in that old
Sky Sports.
Well, hang on a
what I'm
moment.
getting at is, would the Pakistan players have been able to relax watching the series from their bedroom?
Well, yeah, I think
they
discovered things. I know it's a Travelodge, but I think they do have TVs, the internet, soft beds, all those kind of things are still available in a Travelodge.
ATV Sport in a Travelodge? I don't think so, Tony.
Well,
it's not free to air anymore.
That's very true. And if any man knows about that, it's you. As this one is again defended by Barber, who thought about wanting a quick single, which does suggest he's getting a little skittish and keen to get on the scoreboard. But it's the end of the over, and there was no run, so it's a maiden and Fred.
Indeed, David does know about free-to-air television, and he'll be leading us for some racing shortly. Jay Grover says that when he went out, he was just going to buy some cheesy Wotsits and some beer. Believe that if you will. We've got a nice tweet from Sanjay Patel here, who says, I listened to Guerrilla Cricket because 2 years ago I reviewed Ed Benson's application for a pupillage in Chambers, and I couldn't think of a better hobby for a barrister to have than part-time cricket raconteur.
It's a really interesting idea.
It is a very interesting idea.
I can tell you, I don't know if he still works for you or whether you gave him a reference. He's a delightful young chap and always excellent company. As this one is full and strikes Shan Masood on the pad, a little high and going down the left-hand side. I suspect, but a decent delivery.
We should probably not say too much about him in case that application is still pending. Probably the less... let's say that, if we're recommending him, that might not be the best thing.
Well, if the lawyers are on an hourly rate for reviewing it, I suspect it could well be. 48 for 2. Wokes, and rather than the full ninja look for him, and that was a huge shout. That one was a big shout, Fred, because literally everybody went up. And not given now. The camera is focused squarely on Captain Joe Root. The timer ticking down.
It may have
like
been
the closing seconds of Batman as he's dangling above a pot of boiling something or other. But no. Not going to be reviewed.
Yeah, pitched well outside leg.
Pitched outside leg, possibly height. Although he was well back in his crease, wasn't he? Wokes was giving it the full decibelage.
So much for Wokes' honesty. Oh,
well,
no,
when you say that, it pitched outside leg, but enough of the ball was on the shaded area of not outside leg that you'd be hard pressed as a bowler to know that was outside leg. Wokes in again. Forward comes Shan Masood Khan, and it's away to the offside. There's no run, 84 miles an hour.
It's interesting that Pakistan would have worried about facing Gordon Anderson with a new ball this morning, and they were, they did trouble for the batsmen, but it's been the change bowlers and England's strengthening depth in their seam bowling and fast bowling, which is it just means it's relentless for the batsman. There's no time when you could really switch off and think you're going to cash in here, because it's just coming at you all the time.
Very true, very true. Wokes in again, flicked off his legs, but flicked straight to mid-on, and there's no run. 2 balls left of this Wokes over. It's a searching, probing spell from him, just as it has been from Jofra Archer. Just as it was, to be fair, by both Broad and Anderson, who bowled well without luck, I suppose. But the wickets have now come for England. 48 for 2, Pakistan. As in comes Wokes, up onto his toes goes Shan, drops this down. Archer comes in from point, rolls it along the ground, doesn't hit the stumps, and I think the batsman would have been safe anyway. Just to remind you, there are 7 minutes till the GPL ends. That's 7 minutes till the GPL ends. We've had 11 entries so far, so plenty of time, 7 minutes, to get in if you want to. Now ticking down to 6 minutes. Bear, you don't need to send me a 1 minute reminder for every minute towards 1 o'clock, but nonetheless, we were on about 40 quid now, so we must be on about close to 50, am I right? Signal to me or send me a message so I know. Wokes is in, last ball of his over, a little bit edgy away into the offside. They do take a quick single. Babar Azam is off the mark, not in the most convincing of manner, but the scorebook won't tell you that. It will just tell you he has one to his name. He'll kept the strike, and Pakistan have brought their 50 up as well, so they are 50 for 2, and we probably have 1, maybe 2 before lunch. Do you think, David?
No idea. I guess they'll get 2 overs in. I haven't checked me.
1 from Best, do you think? Probably
yeah,
not.
It could be the old let's give the spinner a quick whirl just to make sure we get the other one from the pace bowler. Yeah,
let's get him in the game. He didn't get a bowl in the last game.
Shame Sam Robson isn't playing.
Jay Glover, Shane, or as we Shane Robson as we now call him, as Archer's in, and that one, he has to hurry again, does Babar Azam. The man at forward short leg does the fielding. It'll be Ollie Pope who seems to have made that position his own.
Jay Grover wants
to be the most junior member of the side. Sorry, Fred.
If there are 3 reviews in this test match, there are 3 reviews. And Dave Wood spots something here. He says, the moment you mention Ed Benson, there's a huge shout. Coincidence?
No, possibly not. 3 slips and a gully for the right-handed Babar Azam. Jofra Archer's in. Fuller this time, driven straight to cover, and no run.
But the first half volley we've seen today.
It was, and he didn't really get after it, did he?
No,
in fact, if anything, he was also chasing it a little bit rather than,
I mean, England have given nothing, have they? They really haven't given anything. It's been very few loose balls.
No, it's, you might argue, probably the perfect bowling for the conditions. I was going to ask you something about that in a minute, actually, as this one is driven again straight to cover, 85 miles an hour from Archer. Yes, Dave, who is a man who watches Jofra at Sussex, and obviously in his international career, do you think he's just, this test so far, exerted a little bit of extra control, and he might have just been a little more wayward, was too desperate for wickets in the previous 2 tests?
He's got a lot of weight off his mind now after that, the incident between the second and third,
Yeah, that's a good observation. That one is a delightful delivery, just moves away enough. And Babar, I think we could say he played inside the line. We'll have another look for you. It just did jag away enough, and he played inside the line, but I think because the ball beat him, not because he withdrew the bat on that occasion. 50 for 2, Babar Azam on 1. Shah Masood Khan He is there on 27, so he's looking to be that rock. Archer's going to be in again from the Statham end. It's short and it's ducked under by Barbara Azam through to Joss Butler. Another man, Joss Butler, who will be thinking he's just a little bit more comfortable in his boots and pads now that he's at least got some runs under his belt. I know the debate will run and run and run and run and run and run and run concerning Archer, concerning, I beg your pardon, Joss Butler, but he is the man in possession and he does have some runs to his name as well. 50 for 2. Archer in again. Worked away down to long leg. They will take a single. They thought about 2. They quite correctly realised that being totally daft. So that doubles Barbara Azam's tally. It's the end of the Archer over. 51 for 2, Pakistan. Fred.
Yeah, Jay Grover, another one of the long list of things that Jay Grover is unimpressed with is your reviews of various fine provincial hotels. And he's threatening violence to somebody if you mention such a thing again. Peter Jones says, hello everyone, and hello to my sister Hannah. I hope you're feeling better now. I'm not sure if that's us.
Well, provincial hotels, that's a bit harsh, by the way.
Well, they are in the provinces, Derby, Manchester. So, yes, we hope Hannah is feeling better.
Yes.
And that brings us up to date with tweets.
Can we have a look at our friends on Crick Tracker and other platforms, perhaps as we go through this over, as we are likely now to be? I would imagine this may be the last over before lunch. We shall see. Wilkes is bowling. Has the honour of bowling from the Jimmy Anderson end. 3 slips and a gully. Oh, and he beats the outside edge of Barber again. What an absolute perler of a ball that was. Perfect length, jagged away, and Barber just fishing away for it. It went through to Butler, and he's still there, but it was a superb delivery. 51 for 2, Barber on 2. Run rate just a shade over 2 at the moment. As we said, Pakistan are more concerned with keeping the wickets intact than they will be about scoring quick runs just at the moment as Wokes is in. That's not quite such a clever ball. In fact, well, did they... Let's try and talk you through that. It seemed to be going down leg. It appeared to be like he was looking just to run it down to long leg and somehow ended up squirting it away to backward point. The throw came in. Now the question is, was he sent back? Or did they take a single? Yes, he was sent back. That's what I thought. Ollie Pope saw the funny side of it, who seems to be a chirpy sort of lad and quite often frequently has a big old smile in his face. So no run. And this one is met. Getting squarely. Now, I can sort of see why he played such a weird shot the last ball, because he does seem quite square when he plays those shots, doesn't he? He seems to end up very sort of bat facing forward and rather square onto the wicket. He got poor old Barber got in an absolute tangle there. Nothing seemed to be working with other things. It was all parts of body and bat were moving independently. So Wokes will be encouraged. He's in, and that one's beaten. Barbara Azam again. Stokes' arms go up. It's through to Butler. Joe Root is touching his toes, just I think looking for some way to shake out the frustration of that near miss for England. Again, it was a leg cutter by Wokes, and it completely beat Barbara Azam into those green gloves of Joss Butler.
The green gloves of home.
The green gloves of home. Well, it is home as this one's left alone. It's sort of home for Butler now, isn't it? Is he still? He's still with Lancashire, I think. Am I right?
Doesn't play for them, but yeah, he's on their book.
Yeah, I don't think you can blame players for that, though, Fred, these days. I mean, central contracts are central contracts, and there is so much international cricket.
Well, it's true, but if you want him to be successful in Test matches, he does need to play long-form cricket.
No, I don't think anyone will disagree with you on that.
Somebody would, but they'd be wrong.
They can tweet and let you know. As Wokes turns in his mark, he's going to be in again. That's looking, I think, for a Yorker. It's pretty horrible on leg stump. Full toss on leg stump. It's away through mid-wicket. It will be fielded down there by... Is that Dom Sibley? It will, however, net 3 runs. So Shah Massoud is on 27, 53 for 2 this session. 25 overs, 53 runs, 2 wickets have fallen. We've had 13.2 overs, and it is indeed lunch. So 53 for 2. I think we should probably stay on and chat about yesterday's Test cricket, according to the messages I'm getting. David, do you want to take us through the scorecard of the morning?
Oh, that's a good curveball there, Tony.
Sorry.
I will get this up quickly. Yeah, so it's been a good... I thought Pakistan started off really well this morning and shown that they'd learnt from the West Indies series, but then Abid Ali was bowled Archer for 16, and then the skipper Azhar Ali LBW bowled Wokes for no score. So Shan Massoud 27 not out, Babar Azam 4 not out. Bowling figures: Jimmy Anderson 5 overs, no wicket for 16. Stuart Broad 6 overs, no wicket for 10. And the wicket takers: Chris Wokes 8 overs, 1 for 14. Jofra Archer 6 overs, 1 for 7. Back to you, Tony. I think you're going to talk about the Bob Willis Trophy, first round of the matches.
Well, not on my own. I think I'm going to be joined by a couple of others, one of which will be Knackle, and also to Hendo, who's joining us, I'm delighted to say.
You're not very good at reading these sort of back end messages, are you, Tony? You've got it all horribly wrong.
Did I?
It's not Knackle who's coming. It's me, and hopefully Dave's going to come back. Dave's gone in search of the good Dr. Ansari, who many of our listeners will remember gives us quite controversial coffee, let's put it that way. He, of course, is in Houston and looking after COVID patients as in his day job and probably night job as a surgeon. So we're not sure whether we're going to be able to get hold of him. In the meantime, we shall talk about we're going to talk about the Bob Willis Trophy and what happened in the first round of that. Not Fred Titmus has his finger raised as if he's missing having done any umpiring. Oh, it's the middle finger.
No, I will stay on to talk about it if you like, because it's something I've folled.
Yes, indeed. Well, I didn't know anything about. Well, I saw a couple of results come through during the England-Ireland game last night, but haven't had a chance to really look in depth at what's been going on out there. Except I did notice that Surrey failed dismally and were bowled out for almost nothing yesterday. Did you watch any of that on the live stream?
I watched almost all of it actually yesterday. Did you? And you say they were bowled out for almost nothing. They were bowled out for 123.
That's almost nothing.
But the fact is they weren't trying to do anything except really score nothing.
Oh, really? Okay.
If you count the number of dot balls, it was absolutely
in
ridiculous.
which case they were very successful.
Yeah. So having realised, having lost a couple of early wickets before lunch, I think their chance of a win they felt had gone, and then they really set themselves out to look for the draw. They looked like they might be getting it as well, as a partnership of sorts was building, until the lethal bowling weapon that is Sam Robson was unleashed by new Middlesex captain Steve Eskenazi.
3 overs, 3 maidens, 2
3 overs, 3 maidens and 2 wickets, I think, both of which were in the first over. One.
Well, yeah, he had 2 overs too many. That was the odd thing.
He didn't concede any runs.
It was one of those situations where Surrey looked to be quite comfortable. They had lost 5 wickets, but Clark were batting pretty comfortably, and it was just throw the ball to somebody and see what happens. He got 1 wicket with a half track out, which was hit back to him, and then he got an LBW with, well, it's probably a full toss. He got 2 in 2.
It wasn't the flipper.
He got 2 in 2. No,
it wasn't the flipper.
It was good old-fashioned cricket. I have to say the quality of cricket and the games which were competitive for the most part up and down the country, and we had 3 or 4 absolutely terrific games. The Kent-Essex game was fantastic. It was in doubt until very close to the end. Essex won by 2 wickets. That could have gone the other way. Derbyshire pulling off their highest ever chase in their history in the 4th innings to win a county game. We had a good game between Durham and Yorkshire, which although Yorkshire looked like they won quite comfortably, but they had a dodgy start in their chase at the beginning of their 4th innings chase. Lancashire and Leicestershire was perhaps the most remarkable game of them all, because it was a good old-fashioned game that Leicestershire wheeling away, just chipping away at Lancashire, and Lancashire thought they'd just about saved it, and they needed 150 off 17 overs in the fourth innings to win, and won with an over and a half to spare. Colin Ackerman, and listening to that live as well, I mean, it was just absolutely terrific round of games, and it was, I had missed it so much, you know, when you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 games going on around the country, and you can dip in and out of the various commentaries and listen to them and follow them on, on Crick Info. Basically, it was great to be back, and it was so enjoyable that there were so many good games as well.
I didn't realise how much I'd missed it until it did come back, and then well, I kind of did realise.
I said yesterday on the commentary, the BBC during the lockdown were playing old test matches and one-day games which were memorable. They were just replaying the whole test match, and I was listening to those, and I wasn't particularly engaged with it until they started reading out the county scores, and it was just and then I realised how much I was missing the county game.
What, was that because you suddenly remembered where you'd been when that score had been read out originally?
Well, no, and I didn't necessarily remember the games, but the fact it suddenly dawned on me just what we were missing. You know, games going on all up and down the country, interesting stuff going on, people taking wickets, people scoring runs, and that's the great thing about the county season. You know, and we're going to have that for a month and a half this year. We're going to have 9 games going on every round, and everybody playing, and the games going on the same
when you
days.
want to be seeing county cricket, i.e. at the height of the summer. What did we think about one or two of the Bobblist Trophy rule adjustments?
Oh, do you mean things like 110 overs, you can't get bonus points beyond
I was
that?
actually thinking that one most specifically. So I think it's really interesting because you have, you still have 110 overs.
That's unchanged. You've got 110 overs to get your bonus points in the first
for bonus points, but it's 120.
You can't bat for longer than 120.
Yes. So it still encourages you to keep the game open whilst maximising your return from effectively a limited set of overs.
Yeah, I mean,
in the first innings, which I think is actually not a bad innovation. 120 seems to be pitched at about the right length for me.
Yes, I think that's quite good, isn't it? I mean, if you haven't put up a decent score after 120 overs, how much more time are you going to use to build up a lead or build up a first innings? It's an odd one, isn't it? I think that might be a rule change that stays. Anyone see that happening?
Sorry, I'll let you take that, Fred.
It did used to happen. It was the case in the county championship in the 80s, where the first innings was limited.
That was to 100 overs.
Certain times to 100 overs,
yes.
Later to 100 and possibly 120 also. I don't agree with the reason that it was brought in. I think most of the rule changes they've made have been in the name of protecting fast bowlers, which I think is a very overstated aim, because, well, for various reasons, not least that they haven't played much cricket. But, I don't think we can be too harsh on rule changes for a 5-game competition that's being played in the midst of a pandemic as a one-off. But I don't, it does mean that the games, as long as the weather is good, are likely to be finished. And only one game was drawn, and that was a good performance to pull the game back by was Northants, was it?
Sorry, Northants. Northants.
I would hope. I think we're going to see this in many areas of life where rules are brought in under this emergency legislation, and rule changes tend to stay because they were what the governing bodies wanted anyway. But now they've got an excuse to keep them. I think for these games, it's a very small, as I say, very small competition. Only 2 teams are going to go on to meet in the final. I don't think it's a major problem, and I think it will cause games and therefore the competition to be very close and competitive all the way to the
3 from each division plus 1 best finisher.
No, it's the top 2 from 3 divisions on points who will go through to a final.
It's going to be semi-finals. So how are they going to? Right, so you could still win one of those leagues and be out of not be in the final game of the season. Okay, that's interesting.
Effectively, the 3 leagues are just a convenience to get the matches in, and the top scoring points, top 2 point scorers will go through regardless of who they've played.
So bonus points could be crucial here, actually.
Well, they were, and we saw that interestingly at the Oval, when Middlesex, I think, needed 9 to get the extra bonus point. They were on 341, I think, going into in that after 109 overs. And ended up declaring almost immediately afterwards because they lost 2 set batsmen immediately who were clearly pushing to get that extra bonus point. I mean, bonus points have always been there, but this was like a real, microcosm of their value and why they mean something. But they potentially mean that much more given this sort of 3-division context, if you know what I mean, which is what you were saying.
Shorter competition, every point's going to matter. And they've also upped the draw points to 8. In other words,
yes,
60
that's
for
right,
a win, a draw for an 8. If you do get a game